Hey, good evening, everyone. Wow, I see Stacy is here first and has her coffee ready. Sharon's here making dinner. Oh, missed last week due to the time change. You know what? Last week was hard with that time change, anyways. Visual Keto says howdy, howdy, and also says they don't normally have 3 5-shot Americanos in a day, but when they do, I'm interesting. My gosh, that's a lot. And that comes from me, someone who drinks a ton of coffee. Whew, I don't know. I would maybe even have the jitters at that point. Glenda's here, says good evening to everybody. Warden has joined us, just finished making dinner. What'd you having for dinner, Warden? Um, Blue Dove. Blue Dove is here and says, hey there, Radical fans. About to cook up some bacon, sausages, and eggs, which sounds amazing. Naturally, I'm outside my eating window for Sunday nights, and since I'm used to eating real early, I'm starving, even though I shouldn't be. It's psychological, really. OP made a second pot of coffee so they can enjoy the live stream. Air Frying Auntie's here, says hi to me, and of course, welcome to the Geek Squad. We don't work for Best Buy, though, so we'll have to come up with something fun. And then hellos back and forth. Attila is asking if it was just 15 shots of espresso with a glass of water, which, kind of, but there's some things we'll talk about Americanos sometime. That's probably a future live stream. Some hellos back and forth. Catherine has joined us, and Hungry Heath has joined us. I see Reichwin's here, says their brain is still not used to the time change. I think I'm getting there. I just hope that stuff passes in Congress so that we're all on the same time without changing again. Well, I guess we'll change once more in 2023, but I've seen a lot of arguments fighting it too, and I'm like, oh, just pass it. I'm sick of the time changes. So I think that's everyone's who's here for the moment. Oh, and but the warden shares that they made spicy kielbasa and sausage. They posted it on TikTok. Oh, we'll have to check that out and give it a good hearts later. Oh, Gigi's here and Lisa's here, asking if that howling sound was my Pomeranian, and indeed, he is mad because I'm downstairs and everyone else is upstairs and he's on the first level. But he's spoiled rotten, so when he has the first level, he's got access to all of the foods. He's got little stairs that go onto the couch with an electric blanket if he wants it. He's got a little couple hiding spaces that are set up just for him and like 9 million toys. So I want to feel bad for him, but not really. So I have, as per usual, 9 million little containers of things here. And I think the easiest thing to do tonight is going to get started with the coffee process. It's real easy. It'll take us hardly any time at all. But I think a lot of us have just your regular old drip coffee first thing in the morning. We've talked about it a lot because we think that, a lot of my stuff is fancy, and I say, but we're just like everyone else. First thing in the morning, we're having a regular old pot of coffee, and it's there's nothing fancy about the coffee. We just make a pot. We actually set it up at night and auto brew it for the morning. But I want to know that in addition to that, sometimes you want a pot of coffee where you've at least step it up just a little bit. Maybe you just need a pot of coffee because you're having some friends over, and you can only brew so many pour over Chemexes. I see Bejeweled has joined us, and let's see. And Visual Keto says, life as our dog would not suck at all. No, he is very spoiled. Super spoiled. That's okay. Oh, and Bejeweled has been a busy bee. Oh, tell us what you've been up to. We love that camaraderie. Air Fried Annie says, yes, just get the caffeine in. So, we actually have, this is a Keurig Duo Plus. We got it at Costco after our old Grind and Brew Cuisinart died, which, I didn't make that great a coffee to start with anyways. So we went ahead, we got the Keurig because that way we can do full pots. It comes with a thermal carafe. Oh, fun. It also gets green screen, but not that much. Cool. I love playing with that. It has a thermal carafe and it has a side. You can actually put the water on either side. This little thing attaches and detaches. That's kind of interesting. You can set it up whichever way you want. So, and it has a little permanent gold mesh filter. So it can brew whole pots or pods. So in the past, we've had, for picnics, actually, we have like a 10-cup Mr. Coffee, you know, the 10-cup, $10 special from Walmart. Just as good. And all of them will be able to do this slightly better brew. Okay, just some more hellos back and forth. Let's see. Oh, and but the warden does mention that the TikToks, they have Hungry Heath and also Shelly Eats Steak. So, but the Shelly Eats Steak is usually coffee related. How appropriate. Anyways, I already filled this up, and you should know, use filtered water. And I say that I still try to use filtered water in here, even though it has a filter in the bottom that you switch out every 30 days. So I guess it's double filtered, but I feel that I get a better brew with filtered water to start with. Now, let me grab a drink of my water. I'm really thirsty today, and I don't really know why, but like I have just like been parched all day. Which is weird because we didn't exercise as hard as we planned because there were technical difficulties, the weather didn't cooperate, etc., etc. So, you know, I start over tomorrow. I did a small stuff today, and tomorrow I get to go outside while it's 70. Look at me. I want my coffee, but let's talk for ever first. Oh, smells good, but what I have here is 100% Colombian, and it's a medium roast. It's it's grind 3. And I tell you what, you can just buy your pre-ground coffee to work in these drip coffees. Fresh ground beans absolutely does step it up a little bit, but it's not the end all be all. And when you're tired, a container of the pre-ground, I will tell you that I don't care for Folgers dark roast, but a lot of people do. I actually like the Costco Kirkland package, which is also 100% Colombian. 100% Colombian is Arabica beans. And let me just count for a second and put this in. 1, 2, 3. You don't have to be careful. Heap it up. 6, 7, 8, and just a little bit, a smidge more. You know, you just kind of give it a rough guess. You take a look at your filter. Actually, it looks a little light. I like it a little more. I feel like I could just add the rest of that. You can see that the filter's about half full. And then I'm going to do just like we do with pour overs and everything else and make a divot in the center of my grinds. And I do that whether we're setting it up for the night before or if I'm doing something for company. This is what I will call large brew company coffee. You don't want to spoil your guests too hardcore or they might not leave. And, you know, sometimes after a few hours, when they beat you at your own board games enough, you just get out. So you put that in. And at this point, this would be your normal spot where you would have your coffee good and set up, ready to go. You could either set it up to brew later. Mine does have a timer, but today we are going to just brew coffee. And I'm going to press my power. And I have a button for strong, which kind of slows the flow a little bit. Now I have to tell it to brew a pot as opposed to a pod. But you will have whatever process your machine has. Some of them, it's just a switch and immediately it starts heating water up and flowing, all of that. What I'm going to do now is listen for my coffee pot because it makes like some noises you won't be able to hear on the live stream. but I'll hear when it warms up, and I'll see it watching it to brew. And let's see, Air Frying Auntie says theirs has a cone filter, and they have a permanent filter, but prefer the paper easiers for easier cleanup. That's fine. And if you have a compost service, you can actually pick up that paper filter with the grounds and throw it right in. You can also, if you have a yard and you have a little back area with like flowers or things like that, you can dump the whole thing right back there to decompose. Gretchen Don Treader says coffee is a visitor timer. 100%. I'll just say that I never get tired when you come over, though. But of course, usually I'm driving you, so I say like, well, time to go. So what I've heard is all of the water heated up, and all of a sudden my pot has gone quiet. It means the water's starting to flow, and I'm going to give it just a minute. I don't want it to actually do a lot of dripping. I'm going to keep an eye here. Okay, and there it goes, that first little drip, and now I'm going to shut it off. And then I'm going to wait for like another minute. So, and I see Attila is saying that it looks low on water. I will explain that. Only put in as much water as you want to actually brew. Because of what I just did, where I shut off my pot, it's going to remeasure the water. So when you shut your regular coffee pot off, even though it's already brewed some water into, or poured some water into the filter, which, you know, if I open it, now it's not going to show enough. You can see there's steam coming up from here where the water has come in. I'm going to close it back up. That's, you know, that when we've done our pour overs and our AeroPress and the other things, that's the bloom. So yeah, even in your drip pot, you can bloom, and that's what, and you're going to let the grounds absorb. Then when we restart the brew, it's going to start that brew cycle over. So any water that it's already brewed is going to flow. It's not going to measure that anymore. So that's why you want to make sure that you put exactly the amount of water that you are going to be okay if it blows through all the water. This one has like a maximum line. So sometimes when we brew it, if it's filled all the way to the max, it'll have water left over, and then you can do like 1 or 2 pods worth of coffee off of it. In this case, it might not go through all of the water, but it is going to actually brew through a majority of it, and I won't have enough for, 2 pods, maybe 1, probably a small version. So that's why you don't want to overfill it, because otherwise you will over brew and overflow your pot. So, but that's it. So we just turned it off. That is the whole drip coffee trick right there. But you can see I didn't do anything special to my coffee. I dumped the coffee in. I didn't do weighing. I didn't weigh out the water like we sometimes do, or any of that. It was all eyeball. And, yeah, I did count my spoons, but then at the end I looked at it and I was like, and threw some more in. So from here, now that it sat for a minute, I hit my buttons all over again. I tell it that I'm going to brew a whole pot and press my brew button to get it started. And now I just let it go the regular way. Suddenly the chat's real quiet again. And let's see. Hungry He says he has a crush on Shelly Eat Steak. I would hope so. So, and then Shelly Eat Steak says that she doesn't want Hungry Heath to get an ego that's too big. So I got notifications making sure it wasn't like my kid or anything messaging me, but it's actually the Indigo Neely has posted a video. So now I have something to do after I go to bed tonight. So what else has everyone been up to lately? It has been such an adventure. I'm going to start putting food together too. And tell you, I've got my cooked cauli rice. So you can see that I have maybe about 2 cups. It's really dry. I've microwaved it already, and let me get a spoon to kind of see. I don't know if you can if you'll be able to see the texture or not. So, but yeah, so you can see it's really small. The grated up is really small. You can use any kind of riced cauliflower you want. Grate your own. Use frozen. Use the kind in the package. And Lisa's asking if the measurement is the same for the pour over and the French press. So, or if there's a chart somewhere. You know, I don't know if there's a chart because French presses aren't always the same size, and you can brew different amounts of coffee in them. It's going to depend on how much you are making in it. And with the French press, it goes by ratios, and it's going to depend on a few different factors. But if you want to send me an IM on Facebook or send me an email at radicalgeek42@gmail.com with what kind of coffee you're using and what size press you're looking to use, or what size rather, I can give you the ratios that'll work best for that particular press. And pour overs vary too, depending on which one it is, whether it's a V60, if it's got a permanent mesh filter, if it's a Chemex. None of them are the same. So I'm so excited. I can hear the coffee brewing. I know it'll be done soon. Oh, and Stacy says you guys are quiet just because you all were listening. Let's see. Oh, and Caboodle Bry has joined us. It's coffee time, 100%. Hunger He says that the enchilada sauce was great on leftover brisket last night and on the burger at lunch today. Oh, I didn't think to put it on a burger. That does sound good. All right. So anyways, my cauli rice. I've got about 2 cups of it here, and I microwaved it. The reason I microwaved it over any other method is because I want it to really dry out. That's a real important part of the musubi. And I will tell you that as I make the musubi rice, which is basically like a recipe you would use for sushi rice, but ketofied, so it doesn't have any sugar in it. 50% of the time, it doesn't hold together properly and get a sticky feel to it. And that's all right. I'm not too worried about it. If it falls apart, then we just eat it with a fork and it's no big deal. It still has the same flavor profile. But, so that's it for my cauli rice to get started. Then, what I have here is a tablespoon of rice wine vinegar. And I just throw that right into the cauli rice. I have a tablespoon of coconut aminos. And I throw that right in. And then I have half a teaspoon of fish sauce. Now, those are not traditional sushi rice ingredients. You would normally use mirin, which is a very sweetened, it's got rice wine vinegar and glucose syrup and salt and several other things. But that is way too many carbs for me. And so I've kind of made a flavor profile that meshes well with the musubi. And for those who, if you don't know what musubi is sort of like a large flat piece of sushi rice with a marinated, similar to teriyaki sort of flavored fried spam on top of it, wrapped in a nori. So that's our inspiration for today. And the reason there's not a ton of information on it is because, once again, the origins of the musubi is controversial. Apparently because it's weirdly tasty, even though it doesn't sound like it ought to be. Just taking a look at it. The reason is because most of the time the the origins of musubi is attributed to Hawaii. They use this. They use it a lot. They love it. They use a lot of spam. They make spam sushi. The musubi just seems to fall right in. However, around the same time that it started showing up in Hawaii, it also started a similar the dish with the same name, using spam because of ingredients came out of from Japanese cultures out of after the internment camps were closed down in the United States. So it's it's hard to say. We really don't know. Could be some of each. And you know, a lot of dishes have hey, pretty much every culture ever has some kind of meatball that's similar to a Swedish meatball. So who knows about the origins there. Let me just set this to the side. I may need it again. But that's it for the rice. Let me check here. Thought I saw a question. Let's see. Oh, Blue Dove says they've been having plumbing problems. So Tim L. and the fellows have been digging up the septic with the rest of us trying not to drink more water than strictly necessary. Oh, God, that's like the worst. Right along with having your refrigerator die. Those are like the two worst things, plumbing problems and the refrigerator. Let's see. More hellos. And let's see. And Air Frying Auntie's basically ear hustling and working on a couple cruise albums. There's the question. Visual Keto's asking, what brand of ready-made fish sauce? Store-bought never tastes as great as restaurant fish sauce to them. You know, that's true. I don't know what the difference is, but the fish sauce that I have it just came from an Asian market. I was looking to see if I brought it down by any chance, but I did not. But I don't know because I go to the Asian market and I just trust them. I say, hey, which one do you recommend? And they ask me a series of questions, and based on my answers, then they say, you want this one. And that's it. But what I can do is I can post up a picture of the fish sauce that we wound up with. So the next item that I have is I made the marinade. I know I said teriyaki. This is not really a teriyaki because I don't like I found a sugar-free teriyaki, but it has a bunch of starchy ingredients in it, and I just was not exactly thrilled with it. I keep trying to get myself into it. I think it's G. Hughes brand, so I'm sure it probably tastes good, but if I'm already using cauli rice, I don't have to stay traditional to the musubi dish. So what I did was I took the same flavor profile that I used for the cauli rice, and I took it into a small fry pan, and I mixed together coconut aminos and allulose, some ginger paste, some garlic paste, coconut aminos, ginger, garlic paste, a little bit more of the fish sauce, and some hot water. Then I reduced it until it got that viscousy sort of, it's thicker than pancake syrup, but it's not quite all the way to caramel. And then I added a little bit of pepper flakes because I like it. And we've got a couple things here that we're going to do. I'm going to turn my frying pan on and get the heat going on it. I don't want it too high. And I just brought down a couple things of spam. And then I've got a little bonus thing I'm going to show you later. Maybe. We'll see. And I just stick that right in. Some of musubi recipes will have you like stick it in a bag together. And I'm not doing that because the stickiness from the allulose reducing and the coconut aminos reducing makes it very, very sticky, and I don't have to worry about it. And honestly, it's spam, so a marinade is not going to penetrate in there even if you stab it with a fork a bunch of times and make holes in it. let's see. Oh, Lisa says 7 Boats is a good fish sauce. An air frying auntie adds that they've read that Swedish meatballs aren't from Sweden but stolen from a German recipe. I think I've read that too, but I'd have to double check it again. And Hungry He says the same thing with Swiss cheese. Hey, if you watch my Swiss cheese video, I believe I give you the origins from Norway. And you're right, it is definitely not something from. It's not from Switzerland, and they don't even make it in Switzerland. I don't. So just one of those weird things. Check my pan. My pan has heat to it now. So I'm just going to take these Spam slices in their marinade and drop it in there to start browning up. I'm going to change my glove out. Put a clean one on. So here's the next thing. You need a musubi mold. You can buy them at the Asian grocery, or you can do what I did, which was shape some tin foil around and then reinforce it on the outside and line it with saran wrap. I shaped it off of the Spam can so that my Spam slices can fit right in there. This is where I say that 50% of the time my cauli rice doesn't get sticky enough. It looks like it's going to hold. But you take your cauli rice and you cram it down to the bottom of the mold and give it a good squish so that it will take on the proper shape. Make sure that you keep your form. And I made 2. That's why I've got 2 slices going in the pan. Hey, I'm doing a good job. I haven't made a mess yet. So that's good. So just going to take me a second to put my cauli rice in here, get it good and pressed. You do want to give it a good press to help it form. Otherwise, it will definitely fall apart. It's just barely, it's slightly warm, but it's not hot, obviously, because I'm handling it with my hands. But, so here we go. Show you this. It just comes right into the form, right like that. And then we're going to wait now for our Spam. It's sizzling away. And, oh, the excitement. Let me set this cauli rice aside. I don't have as much left as I thought, so I don't know that I can show you a second recipe, but I'll show you the general idea. Anyways. There is my completed coffee. So you can get a good look. You can see it's a nice rich brew. It's not over dark, but it's not like see-through like you sometimes get when the drip coffee goes through too quickly. And just like always though, before you drink your coffee, let it rest. It's very hot and steamy. I'm going to take a look here at my Spam. Not quite browned yet. It's still very soft and the marinade is on it. Still looks not quite caramelized. I'm going to give it a little more heat to bump it up. And just set this aside. So the next thing that we're going to need, or well, the last thing we're going to need once we get these formed is nori sheets. So with nori is just seaweed. And I buy these again at the Asian grocery because Kroger is almost always out of them. These are it's just sushi nori, roasted seaweed. It doesn't even say what brand it is. So, but they do taste good. Now, the other thing that's awesome about nori sheets is that the seaweed is high in iodine. So it's kind of a pretty nice, healthy ingredient to have. But what I did was instead of a sheet, I just have strips. So I've made myself 2 strips for 2 musubis. And I should have brought a bigger plate, but I did not. And I'm just going to lay them on my plate right like this, and I'll show you why in a few minutes. We'll just wait for the spam to go. So let me get back in here to the comments section. Let's see. Oh, Visual Keto says, oh, maybe they'll have to tell the shop that they love pho and bun, so they will help find a good one. Yeah, that will definitely help them advise you. And Stacy says, oh no, their coffee's gone. Yeah, already. Well, you can always make another one. Just turn the volume up so you can listen in, or switch to a nice tea for the evening, or if you have calm, drink a glass of calm to help you go to bed. Gretchen mentions spam, but I'm just going to give this a quick little blow and a taste. I'm looking back to see. I feel like I missed some comments, but I don't know where they went to. YouTube seems to have eaten some of them, because I see that the warden says they will be purring in your lap within a week to OP. Oh, is that new kittens? I think I saw you post about that. Okay, now I can smell that it's getting dark, getting that dark caramelized sort of look. So it's definitely darkened. And just like when you make grilled cheeses, it only takes a second on the other side. I'm going to turn off the heat. It's almost too dark, but I knew that I stopped paying attention, and it'll still be just fine. So then you just take your slice of spam and you lay it on top of the rice. Whip it right into the mold. And I should have put a fresh glove on so that it was not burning my fingers, but I did not, so we'll just wipe them off. I have a little bit of reduction here that I want to scrape out of my pan. Throw that in here. Just get that cleaned off. I don't want it to get stuck in there for later for cleanup. So now I'm just going to take this and bring my saran wrap together after I've made it stick to itself, because you know how saran wrap is. And I'm just going to bring it all together to kind of give it a good pinch and press and get it out of here. Give it a good twist so that I can make sure it's good and shaped properly. Make myself a little space here. Set my mold aside in case I want to save it. It's a little bit of fiddliness. Okay, so Stacy says they've already drank a pot of coffee today, so they're switching to water. Honestly, that's not a bad plan. You know how much we need our water and electrolytes. I've got a little piece of the mold stuck to this one. Give me a second to tear it a little. Uh-oh. There we go. I've got a failure of my mold. There we go. So you want to make sure that it's a good and proper shape. And here we go for the last step. This is like a lot of little fiddly stuff for something that's not that exciting. Oh, and Air Fry Nanny's asking if that's the Spam can that I'm using as a mold. No, you absolutely can. You can use the Spam can, but you need to line it with, oh no, I broke it. Let me shape it again. You can, but you line it with saran wrap and press it in there. And I just actually made my mold separate, and you can actually buy Musubi molds at the Asian grocery directly. Okay, here we go. You set it right on top of the nori. Careful. Oh, I broke it. You guys, it was a failure of not quite getting it right. There we go. I'm going to press it together. And then we'll just do the other piece as well. I'm going to slide the whole kit and caboodle. Give this one just a little bit more of a squeeze to see if I can get it. All right. Oh, Hunger He says he went to KFC barbecue cook-off yesterday. Buddy's last name is Kelly, so he named his team Kelly's Family Cookers. His logo is KFC. That's pretty funny. I love when people do fun and campy things like that. So, as you can see right now, my musubi is holding together, but when I flip it, it's probably going to fall apart again. I don't have quite enough room on the plate. So let me just slide it to one side a little. Try, oh, nope. I was just a little too harsh with it, and I needed to be a little more gentle. Such is life. I dropped my towel. Wipe my hand off. That's all right. We'll press it back together a little bit with our hands. And then the last thing that we have to do is wrap the nori around it. And you seal the nori by wetting it with some water. You do it on the end and you bring it right over. I know you can't see that real well. But you just wrap it like a little package and you just add a little bit of water onto the seaweed. The steam and the moisture from the Spam and the cauli rice help make it stick together. And I will show it up close to you in just a second. Let me give it a little tuck. One more wipe. And bring it up close to the camera. So there you go. There is your Ketofied Musubi. So you've got your layer of cauli rice, your layer of marinated Spam, and your nori sheet. It just makes like a little belt right around the center. And Gretchen Don Treader suggests that perhaps put the nori on the rice in your hand so you're not dropping it onto the plate. Which, yes, that would have been smart. Usually, honestly, it would have been fine if I had just brought like a full-size plate instead of a little plate. But, you know, it doesn't matter. It's still the same. And that's it. And Sharon says this is making her Miss Hawaii. Lived there for 6 years, and we had some of the best regional food ever. Yeah, they have some great dishes in Hawaii. I have somewhere, I thought, a knife that I brought. Oh, there it is. So, that's it. The other thing that I was going to show you, and I don't quite have enough cauli rice left to pull it off, was I have an onigiri mold. I could maybe try and make a small one. But it's just like a little plastic triangle. And you do just the same thing that you do with the other molds is you line it with saran wrap so it doesn't get stuck. You can definitely not use the saran wrap. And I'm probably going to leave it here. But I also got some everything but the bagel seasoning. I'm just going to use the rest of my rice in here. Sprinkle some in there. You could also just mix it all through the cauli rice, but I don't want to do that. And again, it's all this is just pressing it in there and squeezing it and making it into a triangle shape. If you've never had the onigiri, it's usually rice, shaped, pressed, and molded. And sometimes they put fillings in the middle. In this case, I probably should have fried. I have some extra Spam that I could have dumped in the marinade and thrown that in the middle, and that would have been hilarious. But they have all kinds of flavors. The most popular one being an umeboshi, which is a pickled and sweetened plum. So there's umeboshi, and another popular one would be tuna and mayo. And Lisa, yeah, actually refrigerating it would help it mold and be slightly less sticky. I'm going to sprinkle a little more of my everything but the bagel on there because I like the flavor profile. You would never find everything but the bagel in a regular onigiri, but who's following rules today? Not me. But so you can put a filling in there. You can just season up the rice. If you can handle enough the carbs from it, you could get a furikake, and they come in a ton of flavors. So, but you just push this in, and I'm going to leave this one in the mold overnight because it's only it's a half size. Normally what you would do at this point is you would add your filling to the middle and then cover it again and press it down real tight. What I'm going to do is press this down and get it good and well shaped. Seal up put that in my sink bag. Seal it up and leave it overnight in the fridge. And in the morning, I will have it with some eggs. Just like a little side dish. And I'll show you, I'll just take it right off there and put the mold back on. There you go. So it looks like that. And you also can put a little nori strip in there if you want. You don't have to. Stick it back in the mold so it can stay there overnight. And that's your onigiri. And it's already got the flavoring from the sushi rice that I had before, so it's good to go. I actually had a little piece of nori I should have stuck in there, but Let me go ahead and take a bite and scoot it over. I think a lot of times people do pick it up with their hands, but my cauli rice is not as solidified as I might want. Also, though, it's just huge. So I've never been one to pick up the whole giant piece. Which, of course, also makes the rice break apart some more, too. It always tastes better than I expect it to. And by saying that, don't think that we have this all the time. It's like once in a while we get like nostalgic, so we try things that we haven't had like in a lot of years. But since we bought Spam for the Cowboy Camp Rollins recipe, and we still had some left, we thought, why not? But I'm a big fan of the cauli rice, so that helps a lot. If you don't like cauli rice, you probably won't like this. You could try it with riced broccoli, although it would look weird. And so that's basically everything about that tonight. So, and there's not a lot to tell you. You all are familiar with drip coffee pots, but I can tell you about the Colombian coffee beans. Not an elaborate historical, but I'll tell you why there's such a big deal about the 100% Colombian coffee. You know that Folgers has traded on that for a super long time. And I'll repeat the glaze in a minute, Lisa. Also, I did put it in the description. So, you know, I know that when I made the enchilada sauce, I didn't, and I went back and I added that in for those of you who are asking, so it's in the description of the video now. But the 100% Colombian coffee is actually a very specific grade of Arabica beans. Not only is it just from Colombia, it is grown in high elevation. And in the high elevation, it is also hand-picked, hand-roasted, hand-processed. So if you think about that, when you think about these brands that are 100% Colombian, 100% Arabica roast, you are getting actually a really specialized coffee. So honestly, I think really the real problem with me and Folgers is not that the original coffee is bad. It's that I think that because Folgers buys the raw beans and then roast it with their own special roasting method, it's too far for me. And I don't like it because I feel like it takes away from the smoothness of the Arabica beans and gives it a bitter taste that I don't like, that's very reminiscent of over extraction. And OP says Yuban used to be their favorite, but it got hard to find. Yeah, Yuban makes a really nice cup of coffee. I find it occasionally in international groceries. It's a little easier to find, and then every so often, like Kroger gets a batch in. So I don't know what makes them get it or not, but so that's the big deal about the 100% Colombian coffee and why the advertising for it got so specialized and heavy. It kind of went out of fashion when we started getting some coffees from other regions and people discovered that they were also delicious. So it just kind of, it's like all things, it kind of has its rounds of popularity and then goes by the wayside, but it's actually still quite good. And again, it is quite specialized, so it's worth your consideration if you're a coffee drinker. The nori really adds something to the taste. So, and I'm not the biggest fan of seaweed until it's wrapped with something else, but they make seaweed snacks. And the seaweed snacks, I don't like them. They've got too much of that of the seaweed taste that I don't like it. My child loves them, and we buy them several different kinds, and they can just chow down on it, which is great because it gives them some good iodine and good supplementation. And Gretchen Dontreader is saying that the coffee machine seems huge. I will say some of that is the camera, because it is a larger machine because it's a 12-cup brewer, plus it has the pod piece, but it's actually not as big as it looks on the camera. The camera angle, because it's forward and angled a little bit, makes it look much bigger than it really is. It's actually not much different than your average coffee pot. Maybe a little taller, but it's not much wider. So, and Blue Dove is asking if I've tried the Hearts of Palm rice. They really like the palmini noodles. I do like the palmini rice. I love Hearts of Palm though. However, there is nothing you can do to those palmini noodles to make them sticky. Whereas had I been patient and squeezed this a little more and not just plopped it onto the plate, it probably would have been fine and stuck together just as well. That was the main thing. The main problem was really patience. And OP says they love making gomasio. I actually am not familiar with that, so I probably would like to look it up. But if you share with us a little bit what it is, I'll talk about it, and we can all plot. It's always something that we could learn together, and I think that's a capital awesome idea. Has J-Dub joined us tonight, or did he miss out again? I can't remember if he said they were going somewhere. I was really hungry, but this is actually, again, I really love cauli rice. I can eat way too much of it. Fortunately, I didn't make too much of it, so that's a lucky thing. So next week, I can't remember what I put in the description for a recipe, but I'm open to ideas. Oh, and OP says that the gomazio is you toast sesame seeds and put it in a processor with nori and sea salt. Oh, okay. Very similar to a furikake sort of rice seasoning. Oh, that sounds great. I might have to try some of that. So, and Visual Keto says Yuban is pretty tasty and it's still fairly easy to find in eastern Iowa. Good to know. I don't know when the next time we might be in Iowa would be, but it's good to know because when we travel, we do sometimes pick up a can of coffee on location rather than carrying it with us. And I may do some traveling in the future. OP says they will send the recipe to me. That sounds great. I can always look it up too, so don't worry too much about it. Had to take a break for a minute and take a breath. Oh yeah, so next week, because I'm going to show you how I learned to use the Fellow Prismo. I've had a little bit of a hack with it and got it functioning thanks to the company helping me out a little bit. But it's still not perfect. But I want to show it to you because I want my devices to always get a fair shake. So we'll be using that again. And I was wondering how you guys might feel about doing poached eggs on a savory chaffle maybe. I don't know. I really love poached eggs. And I think that they're actually not as difficult to make as a lot of people think they are. But a lot of people struggle with them too. So I thought it might be a nice thing to do. We can even just do like one in my little clear ramen pot, so that you can see the whole process all together. If you guys are interested, but if you have a different request, we can do that. I will tell you the live stream is not where we'll be doing a mole because that will have to be a heavily edited video for the time because it does take almost a whole day. Oh, and Visual Keto, thank you. They said if I get a hankering for the U-Band, they could always send me some in Ohio. It shows up here every so often, and we have a lot of coffee options, so it's easy enough just to remember when we see it to pick up a can and set it aside. I don't know why, but like the past couple days, I have been really hungry. Usually I do know why, and usually it's because I've ramped up exercise or I've changed something. And in this case, I didn't. In fact, my exercise dropped down a little bit. But the weather is changing, and I've had a lot of stress. So I'm thinking that maybe between the two, that might account for the uptick in my appetite. But I'm not having weird cravings for things, not like needing a lot of sweets or anything specific other than eggs, which I always want eggs. Oh, and Sharon Holloway says too funny. Their husband just said mole. I will gladly make a mole at some point in the future, but again, it's quite the adventure, and it's a long, lengthy process with a lot of ingredients. So it's really not going to fit into a live stream, but I can do a video like in pieces and then string it together for us and trim it down a little bit so you get the knowledge on how to make your own mole sauce, but without us needing like 6 hours to do it. Oh, and Air Frying Auntie says they just made a basic iced coffee with a shot of sugar-free white chocolate macadamia syrup and heavy whipping cream. That sounds like a nice drink for the evening. So I'm just trying to think for a minute. You guys, my mind has been spinning lately, and I'm like getting that little bit of overwhelmed with my life right now because I've overcommitted myself. It's all really great stuff. I took on the department head role for OhioCon tabletop. So there's a lot to do for that because, you know, with the pandemic, of course, like everywhere else, things got put on the back burner. There was some shrinkage to the events. The previous department head, you know, had some downtime. So when you don't communicate with people 100% all the time, which you can't during the pandemic because people weren't around, things get lost in the fray. There's so much change. So I am going to. So there's a lot of work to do. Fortunately, we had a very tiny OhioCon this year, with the idea that by hopefully for next year we'll be back onto our normal target. And so I got to get so many things together for that. But once again, at my regular job, another project manager is gone. And so we've got another new project manager, and I'll be taking on another new team as well and getting another piece of heavy effort workload going. So again, I just got everything piled up. Plus it's springtime, which means I don't want to do nothing but go outside and be on my bike and like forget everything else, which is, you know, not a realistic thing. Gretchen Dontreader is asking if I use a ring to start a poached egg with a coherent shape. No. When we do all right then, that settles it. Next week, let's do poached eggs. And we can have them either on a pre-made loaf of something, or we can go ahead and make a savory chaffle as well to go with it. And Sharon says the poached eggs would be nice because they're trying to embrace yolks again. So, what happened that you weren't eating yolks? Did you get some that just didn't sit well and then you just didn't want them anymore? Or you had too many eggs and it was just like, nope, an aversion? I've had that before where I eat a lot of something because I really like it and I get on a kick, and then all of a sudden one day I put it in my mouth and I can't even swallow it, and I'm like, nope, not for like another year am I eating this. And I don't know why. It's such a weird thing to happen. So but yeah, just in case, if any of you on the stream are not horribly far from Ohio and you like running games and you want to come to OhioCon and you want to work with me, you just let me know. Send me an IM. There's not like great comps, but there are some comps for helping out and working. But it's also a nice con. It's actually got a nice, it's a anime plus gaming, and also it's a cultural exchange. So they've got a lot of really super cool things that people don't think about. Oh, they said, oh, Sharon, you would only eat them scrambled. Well, one time we'll have to do scrambled eggs. We can do like 4 different styles of scrambled eggs, so people who love scrambled can still have many options. Because there are a lot of varieties. Oh, Stacy says, the keto eggs Benedict. Well, we've made hollandaise before. So if we do the poached eggs, you're on your way. Hey, Cool Kid Keto. Nice to see you. And thanks for hoping that we are having a super Sunday night. We are. But I hope you're having a good one. I heard that you had that awesome catering event. That sounded great. And Gretchen's been using just egg stuff in a yellow bottle. I don't know why But I have an aversion to that. I can't wrap my head around it, even though I think that a really dear friend of mine who passed away a couple, gosh, I think it's almost been 2 years now. She loved all these stuff. And actually, one time, while trying to broaden my horizons, she made me a fake egg using nutritional yeast that I swear actually fooled me. She put it on like some chili sauce and it made like the whole yolk piece. And when I cut into it, it was just like awesome. Hungry Heath is asking if I'll be making dirty eggs. Not next week. Next week when we do poached eggs don't really go into the dirty egg category because they're in the water. But I do love dirty eggs, and yes, we can do dirty eggs sometime. When we make the scrambled eggs, we can make dirty scrambled eggs. So, fortunately, there's almost no time when I'm unhappy with eggs as an option. It's a great food for me. I need to talk to the farm where I get my eggs because I need more fresh farm eggs. I saw that people were talking about commercial eggs in one of the groups and it was getting a little bit heated, and I just sort of like made sure I stayed away from it because I felt like I didn't really have the knowledge to be in there despite feeling passionate about my eggs. Hey J-Dog, good evening. Oh, you were across town helping your dad with his computer. Hey, that's a good thing to do. Also, sometimes when we have to help other people who are related to us with technology, a frustrating thing to do. So I hope it was pretty easy and not very stressful. Take a minute to chew there. And Bejeweled says eggs any which way are their favorite. I agree. I love eggs. Actually, there is a way that I don't like them, and it's more because they're not cooked enough. And when you get the sunny side up, that's only got the light cook, so a bunch of the white is still basically raw. No, I don't like snotty eggs, which, my kid loves them like that. They like their eggs barely cooked. So, to each their own. But I do like sunny side up eggs, but I really need them to have that white get fully cooked. So I do tell people if I'm getting sunny side eggs up, I tell them I'd rather it get overcooked and have the yolk get a little bit of doneness to it than for the white to be under. So there are techniques you can do to help that along. Mostly it involves just remembering to cover your pan so that it builds up some heat going across the top. Oh, and Lisa says they made a dozen scrambled eggs for the KC pudding right before the live. It was hard not to take a big bite. Oh, so Airfryer Auntie, even with the scrambled eggs, it's a no? What if it was just the white scrambled? Is that still a no? I feel like I really wish you would taste the butterscotch version. Like if I made the butterscotch version at Ketopalooza, if you tasted it, or if it's so much mental that you just couldn't. And Blue Dove says they made some dirty eggs with leftover garlic butter from shrimp. Oh my God, that sounds amazing. Oh, Gretchen Don Treader loves runny eggs. No. Well, if we go out to eat and we wind up with runny eggs, you're just going to eat mine then. And then I'm going to order something else and tell them they don't know how to cook eggs and make a big stink about it. Oh, and J-Dog says it's the same, that he likes them cooked, but Patty likes them a little runny. Yep. I like the yolks to be runny, but not one little bit of the white. I need the white part to be 100% cooked. Opie says they haven't been able to stand yolks unless they are in deviled eggs or pulverized beyond recognition. Their mom would make dippy eggs, and their sister would cut out yolks, and so she would eat them and give the whites to OP. I've known a lot of kids who do such things. And Cool Kid Keto, it's the same split. One of them likes them thoroughly cooked, and the other team likes them runny. Visual Keto says they like basted eggs. Oh, I love basted eggs. The other eggs that I really like are properly cooked coddled eggs, because the thing with coddled eggs, though, is that it's hard to get the whites all the way cooked and the yolks stay runny, and to still have the liquidy portion, the cream that you cook it in. It's pretty hard, and I have to admit I fail at it more than I success. So, and Gretchen Dontreader is asking about soft-boiled eggs. I do like soft-boiled eggs, but they are hard to get them to my liking, because I like the yolk to be very soft and the whites to be pretty cooked. If the white portion doesn't hold together and it gets a little bit of that snotty texture, then immediately it's a no. So I have to be really particular about it. Stacy's also on team whites need to be cooked and yolk with runny yolks. So, I feel supported. And then Air Fry and Auntie says they don't think so. They don't think their pudding likes eggs, but they might try it if I made it. Well, I will think about what I'm taking to Ketopalooza, and maybe we can try it out, because I don't have any of that sulfur smell, and my Vitamix thoroughly pulverizes everything, so it is strictly pudding. And then Air Fry and Auntie weighs in and says scrambled but not overcooked, fried or over easy if the white is cooked, which they can do. And Hungry Heath is asking if I've made Telcron eggs, and the answer is no. But now I'm going to have to look it up and figure it out and try it out. And Lisa's making a vote for making some deviled eggs. I think deviled eggs would make a nice live stream too, especially if I made like 5 or 6 different variants on it. And then, J-Dog says there's a couple possibly vegan channels with Vitamix channel called Life of No Yolk. Huh, that's interesting. And Visual Keto says they've mastered the perfect ratio using an electric egg cooker that cooks with steam evaporation. Oh, all right. So perfect. So there we go. Perfect soft-boiled eggs might be the one reason that I would consider buying an electric egg cooker, because I've made them several times in the Instant Pot, but no matter how many times I do it exactly the same, it's not consistent that they'll always be perfectly soft-boiled. Now, fortunately, I don't usually get the underdone sort. Usually it just goes to hard-boiled, which is fine because I love hard-boiled eggs. So, excuse me, I'm still eating this musubi, so I'm sorry if I'm pausing to take some bites here and there. But now I've thoroughly mushed it with a knife, so it'll just be a matter of scooping it up. Like I said, it actually came out quite tasty, and I have been very hungry. And when I say very hungry, I mean like even to the point where, I'm getting like that little bit of hangry sort of feel, where you're a little bit not very friendly. Oh, and Air Fried Annie says yesterday at the barbecue place they asked for a burnt hot dog with cheese and bacon, grilled onions, and a fried egg. Oh, the fried egg is a great addition. We have a hot dog restaurant not too far from here that I went to with a friend of mine. We had like a nice little date there, and I ate several hot dogs. I don't know if they have eggs because that sounds great. So let's see. I'm trying to see. Let's see. All right. Well, oh, and Air Fried Auntie reiterates that the hard-boiled eggs is a hard no. Never have liked them ever unless it involved coloring the shell. Oh, and evidently I've commented on the Facebook photos of the soft boiled. Well, good to know. We have a lot of devices, and I don't really have room for many more devices without getting rid of things. Now, I will say that even when my kid moves out, we'll get more comfortable space, but I'm not really sure that I'm going to get like space where I can be like, well, now I can get like these 3 more devices. I feel like I'm at a place where I've got everything we need, and we just have now a little bit too much because we've accumulated extra appliances because they're going to be moving out, and we want to set them up with a good kitchen for success at home. And Sharon says when you get the steam cooked eggs, you don't get that green ring around the yolk from overcooking them. Oh, and Air Fry Annie says they just asked for burger toppings on their hot dog. Oh, that makes me think that you could probably get that at Five Guys too, with their all beef hot dogs. Because sometimes I've gone there and gotten the burger bowl, and I get I put the bed of the lettuce and stuff on the bottom, and then I ask them to top my hamburger with a hot dog, which they always think about it for a minute, and then they do it. So I bet. Ooh, but they do have eggs. They've got burgers with eggs on them, so that might be nice to check out sometime. Mm. And Air Fry Nanny says it might be actually the texture of the hard-boiled egg, because if they make a fried egg and the yolk overcooks, they have a hard time eating it. Well, that's interesting. But the hard-cooked egg, the hard-cooked egg yolk, it does change the taste. So it could be a combination of the texture and the flavor. And Hungry He says he used to love Seattle dogs. And Visual Keto says the store-bought hard-boiled eggs are always overcooked to them. But but Visual Keto, I use the Costco organic cage-free hard-boiled eggs to make the KC pudding. For that, they work. And they don't get any sort of vinegary taste, and they do not smell, which is the #1 thing for me. And Gretchen Dontretter says an option on ordering the hot dogs at Five Guys for delivery is extra patty. Oh, that's good to know. We haven't ordered from there for actually, I can't honestly remember the last time we got Five Guys. It was actually pre-pandemic. So that's interesting. So, Air Fried Auntie, when is your next scrapbooking outing? And when do we get to see pictures of new projects? Because I know you've been to a couple, and is it going to be the cruise books? I'm excited to see those, even though I don't get to go on the cruise. Oh, and Hungry Heath mentions adding garlicky gringo to the hard-boiled eggs. I agree. That is a fantastic option. Yeah, the smell is no good. I don't like it. And um, I know that it technically goes away the next day, but the day it still doesn't go away enough to leave me happy. So, oh, and the Five Guys on our South Campus closed for lack of business during the pandemic. Oh, my kid also told me that the Wendy's closed for a while and then has just recently reopened with a remodel. They're going to be trying some new stuff. I'm just curious, Gretchen, what do you think about the Grubhub little robots that they've got on the campus? For those of you who don't know, here at our local university, they have it picked up really in popularity more during the pandemic. But for the if you use DoorDash or Grubhub to order your takeout, it gets stuck in these little rolling robot things, and that does the delivery. So all over campus are these little cubicle robots, and they navigate the sidewalks and then deliver the food. So it's pretty interesting. I think that they're really I want one because of course I do because I'm a weird nerd. But I can easily see how they would be quite the inconvenient item to have. And I think that they could get stuck easily too. I don't know that for a fact, but it just seems like it to me. J Dog says Five Guys downsized. Now it's just two guys. Oh, and Gretchen agrees with me that the little gonk droids are adorable, but they do get held up by rental scooters discarded on the sidewalks. I hate those scooters. I hate those rental scooters. People are so irresponsible with them. They could be an awesome supplement to transportation issues, but not the way they get used these days. They just get discarded everywhere. And when people are on them, they throw caution to the wind and just, right out into traffic across the way. They don't even use the crosswalks. They just weave in and out. And also, drunk people on them are horrendous. My goodness. So just, I think other cities have them. So I'm pretty sure most of you are familiar with them. Those electric scooters. You hook up your card to one of the accounts, and you can rent the scooter. You hop on it, and it speeds up your sidewalk trip. Only here, honestly, I'm surprised that we still have them because I heard some cities were getting rid of them because of how many accidents they were causing or how many people were getting injured using them. So let's see. And Cool Kid Keto says they think they've only ordered DoorDash once, but they have had a driver drop food. We didn't order more than once. Oh, so we haven't had that. We've used DoorDash a couple times, but really only a couple, and usually only at my kids' request because occasionally they get a good deal because they can use DoorDash on campus and there's some kind of deal that they've got for that being a student. So so when they've had that great deal, we usually get like a brand new account and use them as a big coupon. And so that is the only time we've used it. But because I do a lot of meal prep and we do like one big grocery shop a month, we have a lot of food at home, so we just don't need to use the DoorDash. And also with my dietary restrictions, it's harder to do. Plus, if it gets messed up, what a pain in the backside. So let's see. Oh, and Cool Kid Keto said they rode around San Antonio on one of those scooters, and it was a lot of fun. They do look fun. I just get really worried about like how careless people are, and it just Yeah, it's mostly because we aren't responsible here. If people were a little more responsible, I think it would be fantastic. Hmm. But we also have rental bikes. And for those, I think is probably a really great idea because they can't just be left tossed to the side. If you don't bring it back to one of the stations, your card continues to renew and get charged. Whereas with the scooters, it's you rent it for a period of time and then you just dump it. So, but the bikes have to go back to a charging station and you can ride those everywhere. However, they're not very comfortable for me because of how short I am. Even adjusted all the way down, they are very miserable. And I'm so used to my own bike that it's harder for me to justify. Gretchen Don Treader says they've seen at least one of the droids marked as OSU Student Services, so the university must have at least some deployed. Cool. That's awesome. I actually thought OSU owned all of them, but I don't know that for a fact. It just thought because they were on campus that they were an OSU asset. Um, Speaking of rental bikes, if you are going to Ketopalooza and you want to go out for a bike ride with the caboodles and myself, we promise it's going to be a very slow, very easy peasy, casual, touristy sort of bike ride. Not like some kind of crazy 100 miles going, extra speedy or anything like that. Really touristy. Uh, and you don't have a bike and you don't, and you're not someone who bicycles regularly, but you do know how to ride a bike, Louisville does have rental bikes and they're really close to our hotel. So I encourage you to consider that and for us to go out as a nice little group. I actually like to ride behind, which helps keep everybody together. But Karen is a great front person. So lots of options there. So I want to, if you're going to Ketopalooza, I'd love for you to think about that and let us know if you want to join us and we'll get it set up. So when we do the scrambled eggs, and I do several versions, I think we should make some from powdered eggs too. I've never done that before. I might have to try it out. But someone posted some freeze-dried eggs and making those, and it didn't look terrible. So I'm really curious about it, and I think it would be good to do a side-by-side comparison. Oh, hey Tim, you made it just in time. We're about done. I'm actually running out of things to go on about, and but it's also almost time to go. And Air Fry Nanny is asking, is it really just like riding a bike? So I'm gonna say it's not just like riding a bike, but it is still riding a bike. And if you don't have at least some rudimentary biking skills, it will not be good enough. You definitely wouldn't want to do that because it would be scary if you fell. But if you were newer and you knew how to ride and you wanted to give it a good effort for the weekend, and if you were perhaps coming early or had some extra free time and wanted to rent one, I would be glad to do one-on-one lessons. Just, I know that I am crazy out there, although not right now. I absolutely know how it feels because after I had all my brain surgery and strokes and all of that kind of crazy stuff, I had to relearn how. And Attila will back me up when I tell you I was horrible, absolutely horrible, like so horrible that other people who would try to ride with me while I was relearning had trouble staying upright because of how slow I was and how difficult it was for me to do. Oh, Air Fried Andy says they promise no more KPL injuries. That's fine. I kind of want to, yeah. Well, we'll do some other stuff, though. We have lots of fun things we can do at KPL. Tim says it's hard to believe. I know, I am a chatty Cathy. It is hard to believe, but I was really hungry, and so I've been like really stuffing my face with the food we made because it tasted good, but also even if it hadn't tasted good, I would have been shoving it in my face. So I just lucked out that it tasted really good. And Blue Dove is asking if riding their bike around the neighborhood as a kid count as rudimentary biking skills. Depends. I want to say yes, but if it's been like more than 30 years since you've gotten on a bike, you might struggle a little bit, but I think you would pick it right back up and you would be fine. I say it's worth a shot. I'd say we should probably rent it earlier in the morning and give us a little run around and get you used to it first. Cool Kid Keto says they fell on a bike once, but it only hurt their ego. Well, that's lucky. I worry about falling now because now I think that I could get more seriously hurt by falling because just by sheer age. And Air Fry and Annie says they're more worried about getting back up. And Tim says Chatty Cathy is the perfect description of me. It's true. It's true. Extroverted. And that's okay. It's a good skill because somebody has to be the one. However, I will tell you that if we have awkward silence and it matters, and it's one of those times where like the first person who speaks is going to lose, I can out awkward silence anybody. But that's not for the live stream. I don't need to awkward silence anybody because we're good here. I'm down to the last little scraps of these of this cauli rice. It was great. And then Lisa says it has been about 30 years since they've been on a bike and didn't realize that it had been that long. Yeah. So most cities now do have these rental bike programs. It's a great way to get back on because they're e-bikes. So while you do have to put some effort, you also have some assist. And because they are electric bikes, they are really big and they're somewhat easier to balance on. And Gretchen says I have meeting skills. That comes from lots of years of having meetings. Too many meetings. Way too many. Let's see. And Hunger, he says he stopped riding his bike once he learned to drive. Well, hey, Hungry Heath, you're looking for something different to do. You could relearn to ride a bike. Renee can teach you. Just saying. Then you wouldn't have to do DDPY anymore. Just a suggestion. At any rate, here we are at 7:58. So any last minute thoughts, any last minute questions, or any requests for future streams? This is the time to say them because we're going to go ahead and end the live stream. I know it wasn't quite as fact-giving as usual, but we'll be back on that soon. It's just been a stressful week, so I'm just more chatty than anything else. Our friend Auntie, they have shorty people bikes. I'm a shorty people, so yes, they do. It is harder to find. And Bejeweled says bike lessons would require that to get him to go outside. Well, he'll get used to it. All right. Oh, and Stacy's asking if I have quick keto Chinese recipes I can do for us. We could always do like a your standard stir fry. It's not really a Chinese recipe. It's kind of Americanese, but we could definitely do that. That's an easy enough thing to do. Okay. Oh, you're welcome, Gretchen and J Dog. See you guys later. That's true. Hey, Bejeweled. Hungry Heath could ride the bike inside. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one. I couldn't go the whole stream without giving Hungry Heath a little bit of a hard time. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye. Good night.